right, let's get started. Today we're going to be creating the mountain landscape scene. So first things first is we're going to wet the top. Actually, I'm just going to wet the whole thing so I don't get into the moment and rush past doing that. So let's go ahead and wet our page. Oh dear. And a little bit of red on there from stuff like that. Just leave it, you know. Don't overthink things like this. Okay. So we have it pretty wet. I'm actually going to take a little bit off because you do want it to be wet, but you want it to be very evenly distributed on your paper so it doesn't start buckling. Okay. So there we go. So we're gonna start out with our first color. I'm gonna use pink. You can use whatever you want. You can make an orange sunset. It's really up to you. Just try to stay in the same color families as whatever you started with. So I'm gonna be milling my paint. Again, most of the palettes don't have pink in it per se, but if you wanna use, you know, oranges or reds or whatever, just find a color scheme that you like and try to go with that. So again, I'm milling the paint, and that's important to do, is just kind of like moving it around and getting it ready. Warming up that paint. So I always am starting kind of at those sides like we talked about before, and I'm breaking up things as I go. Adding more water. And little strokes at the top, less and less, making it look different. All right. Now I'm gonna go in here and add in a blue. So I'm just gonna pick my blue here and see if that's what I want. And it can be something else if you're following the same colors I'm following. It doesn't have to be blue. Also, it could be, you know, purple or something like that. So I'm starting darker at the top. And I'm kind of working down into the color scheme. So thicker strokes at the top, thinner as I'm getting down into it, like that. Okay. So then, if you want to blend it a little bit more, which I probably will, I'm just going to take a wet brush and kind of, you know what? That brush is a little too stiff. I'm going to blend it in a little bit more with a little bit of just water, maybe a tiny bit of blue, but mostly some water. Blending it in a little bit. Make sure you're getting those edges and any holes. So we'll be taking more time on this, but I just wanted to make it nice and quick here. Okay. Just for the sake of not making a really long video. Okay, so that's your sky. Okay, so then I'm gonna dry mine off. So here comes the blow dryer, pretty loud. Still pretty wet. I was just testing it. then from here you can decide if you want to build in some more darker areas, you can. And then you know, you can just play with this and decide if you want to add other colors to it. Little by little, just start layering in. And that's pretty much the fun part about working with this. It's just layering in as you go. Okay, so let's move on. I'm just gonna hit this one more time with the blow dryer. And then I'm gonna go ahead and rinse off and go ahead and start here with my mountains. So my little mountain scene there is gonna be, I'm actually gonna use a smaller brush, so I'm gonna pick out something like this, maybe. Where did we go here? Oh shit, that's not the brush I thought. Let's just do, it can be a brush like this, or it can be even bigger. Like just use the very tip of your brush if you're using anything bigger than this. Less pressure for something bigger. So you can use purple if you want, if you're doing the same color scheme as me. Or you can use just like a Payne's gray or a black for the mountains in here. So not, oops, not like really thinking about putting a lot of crazy details or anything like that, just throwing in some shapes here. Just gonna give it some shape. And smoothing the paint out. Okay, so just smooth it out. You don't want these to be really too big. Just get your paint on here, make it smooth, even it out. And now this time you really, really do want to use the blow dryer because we're going to put tape over here. Pulled my tape off when I had this under the dryer because it's easier to do that where it won't rip. Now notice I'm putting my tape over my mountain, okay? And I'm lining up my tape perfectly with the mountain. So it's as perfect as I can get it, right? But the only difference is, so if you look here, a tiny bit of the mountain is going to be in the water. So you want to leave, so in other words, you don't want to go and leave a white strip, okay? So if you're going to err a little bit on the side of leaving some mountains, some of that ground in the water, so you don't end up with a white strip. So there we go. There's some of that mountains left in the water. Because if anything, it's going to look like a reflection versus a white strip there. This is already a little, it should be maybe a little bit, oh wait, no, it shouldn't be too wet, but you know, let's wet it just a little bit more. Our blow dryer, I forgot about that. We're gonna, I put too much blow dryer action on here, so let's do this. Let's do this. There's a lot of details I forget that I have done. All right. So your blow dryer might have taken some tape off, so make sure it's back on there. The details. I'm just trying to make sure to talk through all the details for you. All right, I've got to get my brush. Okay, so now we're back to the pink again, and now we're in water part. So we're under the mountains, we're in the water. Actually, I'm gonna put this here. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and start at the horizon line with, in my case, it's gonna be pink, and in your case, it's gonna be whatever it is that you want it to be. So I'm starting dark with whatever you have. I'm gonna start dark, and you're gonna kind of like go down and fade it out. And honestly, I think I need more here. Oh, I didn't want that much. My pink is actually gouache because I didn't have pink watercolor, so the milling process is taking a little longer because it's a little thicker, so that's what we're doing there. Okay, so that's that. And now here I am with the purple, and I'm using purple because I like it. So I'm just gonna come up, but it should be darker. Whatever you're using should be something darker, and you're gonna work up. So I'm working my dark color from the foreground into the background, all right? So there's the purple, it's working its way up. And I'm gonna hit this with the blow dryer just in case, because I need to move fast here. And that's enough. And if you're working, you won't, on your own, you probably won't need to do that as much, but if you want to work kind of quickly, you will need to blow dry it more. So I'm working up, and you can see I'm making a gradient, okay? And if you want, you can also, put in some blues and stuff like that. Change it up with different colors. Okay. But if we're gonna get to the tree today, I need to stop on that. You can put a lot of layers in there, and you should, but we need to get to the tree. So that should be dry. This tape here should be easier to take up, hopefully, if you put the blow dryer on it. If it's not, hit it with the heat again so you can get that tape up nice and easily. Now, you will probably want to put in some kind of details in here. So again, this is going to be something you will want to take more time on. Like in here, with some blues. Here, grab this here so you can see it better. I'm gonna grab a blue out of here and just roll that up. So you'll want to, come in here and put in some little detail stuff, like for your water and things like that, little lines and all that. And so if I use that blue in the front here, I might use some different purples and things back here, and just build up your colors based on what you've already used. So if this is blue, you're gonna use another kind of blue on top, and if this is like purpley, you're gonna use some more purple. So let me give you an example. So here's some purple, purplish, and it's just slightly darker, and I'm gonna do it even more dark so you can see it. And just, building some little stuff in there. You can make it wavy if you want. And you get the general idea. So put as much or a little of that as you want. If it gets too hard, like mine did, add a little bit of water. There we go. And build these. And as you have time on your own, like you'll build up that section. All right, so then the next thing is you're gonna be working on your trees and your grasses and stuff like that. All right, so you want to look at this one here. Okay, so we want to put like some land down in here. My cloth. Okay, So think about how you want to arrange it. Again, you can use like your purple if you want. You can do your, like a purple and black, or whatever your dark color happens to be. You can use that. So I'm gonna just put something in here. And you can see I'm squiggling it around. All right, that's it. I'm gonna give it a little bit more ground over here. And for this, I'm just gonna pretty much leave it, but again, you can build this ground up more later. This is a small brush again. You'll wanna use a detail brush for this, something thin, really thin, because we're gonna do the tree trunk now. Black, something black, a nice dark color. So I'm gonna start over here. That was wetter than I realized, so I'm actually gonna just spread this in here. Let me grab another one. I need to get into it like a black that's not as dark as that. Hold on. That happens sometimes. Let me see this. I'm gonna test this over. Test it a little bit. Yeah, okay. On something crucial like this, you can probably test it. Okay. And you can definitely break up the line on these kind of things. So I'm gonna go above the mountain somewhat, so it doesn't just stop right here compositionally, you know. And little dot at the top, so I want to start right there. And so you could use a fan brush probably, but for this I'm gonna show you this way because I think it's a little small. If you were working on a really larger scale one, I would say go ahead and try a fan brush, but for this, let's do this round and stick with that for now. But that would be a good thing to experiment on if you have time to work on a larger one, on a larger piece of paper. But probably not for many, I don't think. So you want to give it some movement, as you can see. And I'm kind of just dotting and like, you know, you were making these little shapes differentiated. No real science here. Just so that they're all looking kind of natural and they're kind of swooping down, and leave space. Just keep that in mind. That's probably the hardest thing to do when you're doing this, when you're creating these nature scenes and working with the individual plants and doing this brushwork, okay? Just keep remembering to leave that space. Need to go out a little more on these. Happy little trees. Just, if you have time on these two, you can most definitely add in variations of color, like blues or purples if you wanted to. Try it with the black first though, because the black is very foolproof. And I think that's it. That's all we have time for. But think about using some of the other ideas. Oh no, I'm sorry, one more thing. It would be amiss if I forgot to do this. So I did this down in here, which is a round brush already, and you can do that. But the other thing that you can do is take something like this. It's a more flatter brush, and actually, if you have this with the bristles like that, you can almost do a stab brush technique, which we have done in the past, like a little, just give it a little more of a bristly look. And there you go. So there's a lot in there that you can actually start to begin practicing a lot of different stuff. Even put some in here. A lot of different stuff you can practice. So I would say do a series of these, maybe in different colors, warm ones, cool ones, and just see how much varieties that you can come up with of these. Great starting point. All right, see you next time.